and welcome to the launch party celebrating the publication of Dr. Susan F. Tierno's Andamio, Engaging Hispanic Families for ELL Success Using Brain-Based Learning, second edition. I'm Carolyn Burns Bass, your moderator. Let's dive right into the party with some introductions.
Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Susan Tierno, and I'm really excited to be here with you tonight. Let's celebrate.
Susan, who's with us tonight?
I see James Dixon, the kid whisperer from our school. Where's your ma?
Hi, how's it going? I'm James. My mom should be here any minute. I just got off the phone with her. Nice to meet all of you.
I see Alicia. Hola, mi amor. And Javi, I need your face. Our coach. Hey,
Can y'all see me?
yes, I do.
How y'all doing? Coach Mendoza here. Hi. Nice to meet everyone.
Great to have you. I'm here as a co-host with Sue, and I just want to lift up a glass to Sue. We're going to toast Sue's achievement, and here we are. Look
Oh,
at
she brought her wine. Good girl.
So this is fabulous. Sue, how long did you work on this revised edition of the book?
We started, Laura and I started together in October, and we ended right on time, April 30th.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so what were some of the main things that you were looking at? I mean, this kind of process, what do you go through?
Hi, Maxine.
Hey.
There was a big process this time. Andamio is well, let's just put it this way. I'm a writer, so I make the best use of the voices in my head. And I felt like, and I make those voices work for me. And I felt like it still needed not just tweaking, but we had just entered the pandemic. And so there were lots of changes that came in the formatting, that came in the structure, and that came in the addition of technology and how it affected parents. Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the number one thing that you as an educator found in actually taking on a job like this? I want to talk about for a minute about the process that you use to put this kind of a book together, because it's not just an ordinary dime store book. I mean, this is serious work.
Yeah. Let me just say that many people who know me know that I went through my doctoral program. And when I went through my doctoral program, I started 2011 and finished December 2015. And I've never, ever, I think I mentioned this to somebody this week, I've never, ever been in love with anything or anyone more than my doctoral program and the doctoral work and dissertation that comes with it. I think that this book, we really kind of just shared in one sentence that it was a memoir. In the beginning, we say it's a clip of a memoir about my lifetime and what I did to serve in this lifetime. And the best part about it is that it started when I was 19. So at 19, I left. I went to, my parents had just moved to South America, to Bolivia. And I went and created a little school with the Resurrection nuns and priests who worked in schools for the Oneida Indian children. So we had a little curriculum that we put together, and that's what started a great deal of love for Third World. And I really got to know, because the priest and the nun from Canada really knew the sociology and the anthropology of the indios that were there. So it captivated me and challenged me to keep moving in bilingual ed. So for 40 years, I've been in bilingual education, dedicated to the whole circle of not just the children in the classroom or children at summer camps or seminars for kids, but their parents, and then the teachers of those parents. So we split it into gears. And when we were funded federally, it really flowed together, because everything was a mirror program that parents could learn about.
Fantastic. So we have some new people in the room. Who do you recognize, Sue? Who's with us today?
My old buddy Maxine. I will never, ever, ever, ever be able to say I'm sorry enough for not standing still long enough to learn some new technology piece she would try to teach me. There's Alicia, who is in kindergarten, sending us kids to first grade. There's Ave, who is like my son, my godson. There's James, who's the kid whisperer from our school. There's my brother Bob, who nobody told that I go to sleep at 7 o'clock at night. And so this is a big, big, heavy lift for me. Yes. So I'm so happy. And Lourdes, one of my tech coaches, I'm so happy to see all of you. And I know several more people will probably come on. Go ahead, Carolyn. Do you want me to start with the read?
Sure, why not? Let's go for it. Do it.
Okay. Carolyn asked me if I do a little read, and I thought, people aren't going to want to read, but she asked me a very important question, which is, okay, what makes the difference between a first edition and a second edition? And I learned about first and second editions from one of my most favorite authors. He's a writer for the New York Times, and that's Thomas Friedman, whose books I absolutely devour. But he wrote a first and second edition of one of his books, and for sure explained that his second edition had specific edits to it and additions to it that would enhance every single thing. Welcome, Barbara. I'm so excited that you're here. So I'm just going to start with what Laura, my editor, suggested to me, because we had worked so hard together on this for 6 months. And that is, if you haven't gotten a book yet, the afterword. We created an afterword because it's longer than a coda. And since codas are rather short, let me just give you some of the ramblings of it. I start out with an entrance quote from Thomas Friedman about the fast pace of change in technology in the past couple of years. And I think that is and what has affected our children's brains. But more importantly, the pace of growth is tremendous. So just after the first publication, I say, and launch of Andamio, a myriad of changes transpired specifically due to the COVID-19 pandemic. They occurred in our schools, sending us indoors for months. The decision to move face-to-face K-12 learning to online and distance learning emerged within a 24-hour time frame, and educators scrambled to transition to distance learning and online teaching within a mere few days. The sheer whiplash of this rapid change to home-based learning brought a whole new set of unintended issues for communities of teachers and parents. including a new set of school-to-home barriers. Barriers, you see, include any number of social, community, public health, family, and school issues, and include communication between teachers and parents and purposeful engagement programs and training for communities of parents. How American schools adapted to the massive change for all stakeholders became one of the most scrutinized topics in the public politic. Therefore, this afterword offers a brief synopsis of some, but more likely not all, of the effects of the new barriers exacerbated by the school shutdowns. According to Common Sense Media, in 2020, approximately 15 to 16 million K-12 students were living in homes with no internet connection. It was the lack of connectivity with school and classroom that brought to light the new issues, the continuous questions from parents seeking to connect to the learning platforms emerged as the leading barrier. I'm sure everybody here who is dealing with kids knows this issue. I would say, however, barriers are obstacles to building social capital in school communities. But technology for parents requires 3 C's: communities, communication, and curiosity. And if I turn that around, it would mean that we need to start with our parents first, engage their curiosity and want to learn the technology programs. Then we would communicate with them on where and how and when they'd be trained before the children. And then communities, as I share in my book, our projects were 5-year projects under the Fed's money. And what we did is we created a coach in every neighborhood community who worked with the parents that were in our programs. So communities is very well researched and written about in my dissertation. So communities of parents is very important, but they need a backbone. They need a mentor. They need a friend. They need a group of friends. And Hispanic women are known for being good collaborators and good workers together in the community. So that began, and this afterword includes some new and inspiring kinds of things. Pre-pandemic, barriers, perceived or real, applied inequitably to Hispanic parents and their role in the social impact and social contract with their children's education. After the pandemic hit, the question of how to continue to educate America's children translated to how children's brains would adapt to the shift in learning completely online and how to continue to engage with both students and parents in that new process. It's my contention that parents should be trained upfront. They should be trained before the kids get started. In the situation and the ecosystem that I'm dealing with, we did not do that. The movement was very roller coaster all over the nation. First we'll do this, then we'll try that, then we'll do this, then we'll try that. First you'll stay home, now you'll come back to school. So we all felt like we were doing whiplash every other week. But one of the most important things that we do need to remember is that there were several researchers that have worked in the background on all of this. Without socio-emotional systems in place and connective pieces of cognition, the work of the limbic system that engages both students and parents would not be able to work. There's a fabulous new brain neuroscientist that's at Stanford University. David Eagleman notes that in order to become invested, curious, and interested in what and how children and parents learn is to make their brains become more actively engaged. And, you know, during my doctoral research, I wanted to move everybody in sync away from the whole concept of parental involvement, because the term involvement was, the meaning of it was more about, well, I'll just write down that you came to the meeting and everybody's names would go on a list. So engagement for me and for my programs were investment in what we were doing, developing relationships, making them curious about what we were going to be talking about, making them collaborators in teams, and interested in what we were doing. So it's really important, and it requires a lot of upfront parent training. So if you're in a school, my obvious first suggestion is to create models of face-to-face parent training in this upcoming year. Many people will be going hybrid, but many parents, such as in our neighborhood where the school is where I am, they will still be, some will still be working from home with kids. There's two insightful, thought leaders surrounding the issue of change. Both David Eagleman and Justin Wright connect the brain's ability to grow with learning in a world of technology. Eagleman reminds us, however, that through his exploration of the brain and ability to grow, that every child living now has a brain that developed as part of the swipe generation. Carolyn was saying to me that she just loves this term, the swipe generation. And I formulated this term out of research. And one of my co-trainers is from the greater generation, like I am, a boomer. And she's like, oh, you mean like swipe at the gas station? And I said, no, the swipe generation is swipe like on the iPad. So to further compound the challenges that teachers face with changing demographics is a big issue of change, maybe not so much in this little area on the southern border, but nationally, because they're moving from south to north. Here, we're seeing demographic changes in terms of socioeconomic status, or those people that came over before the border closed, and the differentiation between their kids and the kids that have been here on the border for quite some time. So they are also teaching children are now referred to by some as the swipe generation because of the impact 21st century technology has had on them. In other words, the younger generation's brains have adapted their neurotransmitters to process information in a completely different way than those of generations older than millennials. Now, of course, the swipe generation came about from Steve Jobs. From the minute he stepped on stage to announce his new iPhone, to Jeff Bezos, who I got to hear speak in 1996 when Amazon released the Kindle. So, you know, these swipe generation kids think differently than we do in other generations. Their intuitiveness is different. You can show them one time, well, maybe Javi, right? One time, and other times it takes, oh, I forgot to spell my name right, is usually the problem. Or I don't know my numbers. Or, you know, it's usually one of those two things. And my response is always, I already showed you once, go in the back and talk to coach. So there's always somebody to help. But the involvement of change and in the process of this book, really the impetus of the second edition was about what hit us, which for me as a 69-year-old was all about the third process of change in education. And of course, when I was a kid, the first process of change in education that I can remember was new math. Remember that Sputnik went up, and after Sputnik, new math came out. And then after that, it was reading and whole language. And then this is our third big change that I can even remember. So for me, this is not just a love of, content, but this was interfaced very carefully with a love of the Hispanics and the English language learners, not just in our neighborhood, not just on the border south, but in South America, in Dallas, in Hartford, Connecticut, in Richardson, in Washington, D.C. So there have been numerous places that this took place, our whole model, but now I'm adding in the whole concept of growth and the process of change that technology has brought about.
All right, thank you so much. That was really fascinating, and we do have some questions. We're going to break off into questions and answers right now. So if you have any questions, please speak out, raise your hand, add it in the chat, unmute yourself, and Susan will be here. Okay, Barb has a question. Go ahead and ask your question, Barb.
Okay, Barb says, go ahead, Barb.
You want me to say it or you want to read it?
Yeah, then everybody can hear it.
I read the first edition and you know that I loved it.
Mhm.
Tell me something in this one that's new and different that makes me want to buy this and share it with colleagues.
Okay. In this one, we have not only given a proposal to read, but we've added in all the surveys. We also ask that anyone who's working on models of face-to-face training with parents take a look on page 140, where we list out on 140 and 141 the 7 tips that I give about training parents. But in addition to that, just the fact that you want to walk step by step into technology with parents first, and every single piece of Zoom and Google Classroom has probably been learned by every single teacher that's across this country. So I do allude and talk about how to group kids after the pandemic, what hybrid is going to mean for us, what it means, what it has meant in technology. It has forced our children to become more auditory and visual learners instead of tactile and kinesthetic learners. Our kindergarten kids who came to first grade could not get over that they couldn't get up and walk around once they came in the classroom. So it is, we've now kind of rounded the kids out a little bit, where they've learned this year how to stay more focused by staying in a chair.
That's pretty compelling. I think that's a big issue for teachers who are worried about what it looks like when everybody comes back.
It is a big issue, yes. Hybrid has been explained to us as you might have 4 groups in a class sitting together, and one group will work on IXL as a program, or Imagine Math as a program, or iRead from Houghton Mifflin. Another group will work on one of their really critical app programs. They may take on maybe some videos that I want them to take a look at. I might work with one key group on reading online, and another key group might work hands-on with something. So there will still be barriers for a while, we understand from administration, but there really critically will be, there'll still be this separation. But what I enjoyed the most is the lack of bad behavior in the classroom. That kind of went away. Yeah. So, they had to sit still, they had to pay attention. Maxine, how did you feel about it?
It's difficult because I'm either focusing on the students in the class or students online. Trying to get everybody on the same page at the same time is hard.
Yes.
You are right about them getting up. We do a lot of, I don't know if you remember, but in my room, we do a lot of movement breaks. We do a lot of Jack Harmon to go with
Yep.
math and reading and everything, because, and they have to do it at home too, not just,
Yes.
and not just them. I have to do it too. At 62, I don't really like Jack Hartman, but whatever. But so it is difficult, but there are students that do well online, but there are some students that I really wish were in the classroom because they need that extra support. So it's a double-edged sword.
It is. They wanted us to try to get kids back. So I told everybody that I was going to have a real Italian pizza party. And if you come back to school, you can join us in the pizza party. Well, I got 9 kids back. And fortunate for me, they were some of the kids that they needed to be back because it was too much fun coloring while listening to teacher at home. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Or watching another screen.
Or watching another screen. Yes. Yes, we get that often. We get this. I'm watching either television or I'm watching, I have another tab up and on comes YouTube. So it's a constant battle with especially kindergarten, first grade, second graders to stay on task. But for the most part, it has been, I think the burden has been carried by parents, and that the school district definitely needs to commit a tech specialist at each school for the year, for the first part of the year specifically, so that parents can learn as much of the intuitive that kids have the rote way, so that they can be on top of it.
Okay, Sue, we have a question from Bob Tierno. And
Who's
Bob,
that?
go ahead. Bob, are you with us? Unmute yourself.
Okay, so the question is, will Andamio be translated into Spanish and when?
Oh, okay. So
That's a really good question.
yeah, it was requested. So Andamio is currently being translated into Spanish. It was requested by parents that came to the trainings over and over and over and did not read English. They might know how to speak a little English, but they could read Spanish. So we've decided, since the distributor that's going to work with us goes worldwide, that this would be a great, the Minister of Education in Chile or Bolivia or Peru or Argentina, any of the ministerios can then grab a hold of the book also. And I think that in every diverse school district like you're in, Barbara, that there's just parents that want something to know what's going on, right?
Okay, we have another question from Barbara Dixon. Go ahead, Barbara.
Hi, and thank you. I was thinking about the training for parents, and I'd like to know what that's looked like and who's trained the parents, time of day, what's been used and how have you done that?
Okay, so my parents program and I hope you got your book. My parent program is after 5 times of running it nationally, the consensus is that from 9 to noon is the best time for parents. After they've dropped off kids, they can have breakfast and coffee with us and then lunch right afterwards. But we do that 4 days a week and then 4 or 5 follow-ups thereafter during the school year. It looks like teams of parents at round tables or square tables. It looks like people with iPhones because we play Kahoot! It or We do lots of games after we've done mini lecturettes. It is a mirror of what we do with parents, of what we do with teachers. And they not only enjoy it, but they get to sit and collaborate in a team and talk about what they're learning. And I can tell you this because I did the whole dissertation was a qualitative phenomenological look at these parents, and we had 40 in the control group. And what happened is I had about 6 or 7 different surveys that they had to fill out, and they literally had to write out a lot of their responses. What that does, once you get them to write things out, you begin to calculate the number of times words stick with them, the brain, strategies. They simply caught on, and I calculated percentage-wise what that entailed with parents.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And we can talk about it personally anytime you want.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question. I'm not a teacher, but I've been through the education system and my children have, and I have grandchildren now. I'm curious about the parental engagement issues. This is so fascinating to me, and I loved how you made a critical difference between involvement and engagement.
Mhm.
How, what is the best way to involve these parents who are already so overly stressed with their own jobs? I mean, these days, both parents are working. They're both stressed and there is little time. What does the book cover strategies, and can you go over some of those points in your book about really getting these parents excited about helping their children rather than just another task?
Okay, involvement, the differentiation very quickly is involvement means, okay, I sign this piece of paper for you. I give you my kid's birth certificate. I have the shot record right here. Come to school and make sure that they're in school. But engagement means I'm going to talk to you like you're going to become my best friend. I'm going to do activities with you like I do with children and teachers. I'm going to make you curious as to what makes your kid's brain work. Now, my parents, the whole underlying or undergirding issue was patience. They formulated that the greatest percentage was they had no patience left at the end of the day. Well, everybody knows just about this much about children and trauma. And we know that if there's not an environment with, if environments are chaotic, if environments are constantly changing, then we get this much more of trauma in our school because kids are, they don't know what's going to happen next. They think they're big and high and mighty, but it affects them in different learning ways, in different learning styles. So building those communities of parents is probably one of the most important things you can do. So chapter 11 became the new parent marketing chapter, and it is how to fill a room. I tell every parent liaison that you absolutely need to not just do all call, but you need e-invites 2 and 3 times a week. You cannot just send an invitation out overnight. Parents need to organize. First of all, they have no organization. So second of all, if you constantly have it in front of them, they will catch on to it. You need class dojos. You need Remind. You need something that will text them because texting them gets to them faster than anything. You you need a phone call tree. What we did in all of our programs is a phone call tree. Everybody was called. We never trained on a Monday. That's real important. Training on, nothing happens, as I told my older brother, my father once taught me that nothing ever happens on a Monday or a Friday. So stick with Tuesdays to start your training. That's real important. But every Monday that we had trainings, we called and called and called and called. If it's a joint program, by that I mean a partnership with a school district, we oftentimes use their bus system. The school bus system, they're happy to come out and be paid by somebody else to go around and pick up the parents. We oftentimes use the city buses, and they are happy to go out, follow a line of homes and pick up parents. So transportation is very important. So there's a lot of logistics that has to be set up, but getting the parents there has to be a team of people that just do that. During the course of the dissertation research, the person who, Pat Campos, who is the parent coordinator for Title I in our district, she had people from the two schools calling everybody. And our translator called everybody. So we worked as a team to make it all happen. But e-invites are very important. Flyers are very important, albeit in and out of the car happens so much that parents have their phone glued to their hand more than anything. So texts are very important. This whole engagement thing, as you want to know, is nothing that gets kids upset. They never, as a matter of fact, the big joke with my first graders right now is if I forget to turn on the, what's that round reel that goes around and around, guys? And it's, I'm presenting. If I forget to turn it on, they're like, oh, miss, you lost your brains, because I forgot to turn on, hit present. And, I think kids just know intuitively how to work with the programs. They have no fear at all. But as I've told millennial and younger teachers, don't think that this person knows everything about what you're talking about, because I've had to learn it rote memory. I've had to learn, okay, this is a Google Classroom. This is how I put it together. This is where I click. This is where I turn. This is how I put up a video. I had to learn every step of the way. So, the intergenerational look at it is an interesting phenomenon as well. But take a look at the intergenerational issues with young moms, and then grandmothers that come to trainings. It's incredible how many grandmothers are involved with their nieces and nephews, or grandchildren and grandparents. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I have another question. In response to the engagement issues, once you get those parents in your classroom, what is it that you do to motivate these parents? Is it covered in the book? Do you have hands-on methods to engage the parents to engage with their children?
Yes. I want to say yes. Many of which, there's 18 that we used in research. And in the book, they're listed out how parents reacted to it, what the quality of the activity was, how they responded technology-wise to the activity, how they would in the future, kind of like a KWL, how would they use it themselves? How would they bridge to home? And then what did they really learn from it themselves? And yes, that is in the book. It's embedded in a chapter called Brain-Based Activities. And each one of those was, tweezed out, and all the parents responded to them. I want to welcome Laura Marsala, who's on. Howdy, Laura. I want everybody to see you. Laura is my 25 years we worked together as she's my editor and probably the left side of my brain. So I am nothing without Laura. So she has helped to produce many a book. I also want to say hello. I'm so excited to see you, Dr. Ana Maria Rodriguez, who is in the front of my book as she writes out about what parent programs are needed. Ana is a retired provost of education from the University of Texas at Pan American, and also is one of my co-trainers. It makes it nice to have Ana with us because Ana has been teaching her little grandniece since she was probably 2, maybe 3, and has a lot to say about having watched her brain and how it's developed, how she communicates and dialogues with her grandniece, and the difference between her at 3 and the other 3-year-olds that are online. Ana, can you unmute yourself and talk to us a minute? No.
Her screen is blank. She may have stepped away for a moment.
She
So-
might have, yeah. Laura, welcome.
There I am.
There she is.
Yeah.
Hi, Anna.
Hi, Sue. Can you hear me?
Yes, of course, of course.
Okay. Yes, I was dealing with cutting down trees right now. We had a really bad storm here yesterday. So I was out there and somehow I got my times confused. So I'm sorry I'm a little late.
It's okay. I was just telling them about your little grandniece, and I really wanted you to give the little dialogue that we always have about how she's grown the past maybe 2-3 years.
3 years now.
Her development, yes.
Yes. It's been amazing to watch. I started taking care of her when she was 1.5 years old. And she was just beginning to walk. I watched her take her first step, and she was beginning to put words together. And from the very beginning, I began to talk to her in complete sentences, not baby talk, but complete sentences. And pretty soon, she began to speak to me in complete sentences. And I could see, I could watch how she, over the course of months and the first year, how she struggled to put the words together. But she would ask me to pronounce the words again so that she could put them together. And very soon, by the time she was 3 years old, I was having better conversations with her than I was having with other adults, because she was like a little sponge, and everything that she heard, she integrated and then wanted to explore some more. Her vocabulary was just, it was like, it was just mushrooming. And she began to question a great deal. Last year, when she was 3 years old, she entered a 3-year-old program in a Catholic school, and she was ready. She went in there with excitement at she was going to be learning new things. And the socialization part was extraordinary, because her sister was 5 years older than she. So she didn't have any child at home with whom she could develop some social skills. And so being in school enhanced that. But every day she would come out of school, I would pick her up.
Uh-oh. We lost you, honey. Oh, there she
And
is.
she had something new to today. So that went on for last year, and then she's a school in the public schools, but because of COVID, she was not able to go to school. She's been on virtual learning. Can you hear me still?
Yes.
Okay. She's been on virtual learning, and I've been sitting by her side every day that she's in school for 9 months already. And she's just amazing. And I can hear her, and she even tells me, she says, Anna, when I'm looking my eyes like this, it's because I'm thinking. And one of the things that she does is when the teacher asks her questions as part of the participation, she will think before she speaks. And sometimes that gets in the way because the teacher expects her to give her an answer quickly. And she will tell the teacher, I'm thinking. And so then she comes up with the answer.
This is terrific.
Her little brain is just, I'm just amazed at watching her every single day.
Sue, what can you tell me in this experience with Anna Maria's grandniece? What is different? Is it the one-on-one that Anna Maria is giving her? Or what? How is this so fabulously different?
Okay, so, and you know, I'm talking to people that I've worked with in schools, so I can say this. Anna is probably one of the most nurturing individuals I've ever met. And all of us know you have to have at least one parent that's nurturing in order for a child to get through life itself on a daily basis, but through a trauma like a pandemic, you need even more. And that requires even more dialoguing. Well, we work in a city and a neighborhood and a school district where there's very little parent talk. You know, maybe a command, vete allá, vete aquí, ¿qué quieres? I mean, it's nothing more than a command here and there. And what Anna does is begin a real dialogue where they respond to whatever. She has built in curiosity, and that's what we mean by curiosity, where she will begin thinking and learning something. So, and that in and of itself, if you picture it in your mind, is what engagement is. That's what we want our parents to come and do. Oh, I get it. So we really model dialoguing when we're training. We talk among each other. We talk to each of the team members. We talk to each team. And you ask, where are the activities? On page, the activities have now fallen into page 106 to 107, 108, 109, 111, all the way through, including pictures of what it looks like in teamwork. So all those activities with adults were simple, like playing marbles. Okay, make your own rules to play marbles. Oh, well, we haven't played marbles in like 30 years. Well, no kids play marbles anymore because they're too busy being inside where it's cool. Another group will play jacks. We don't know how to play jacks. We'll make up the rules. And then they have to make a list of rules. Or we have them work on a big, huge state map. Okay, start in El Paso and tell me the roads you would take to go all the way over to Houston. Well, they work for minute upon minute upon minute, but the dialogue that you hear as they're doing it is what we're trying to get them to understand. Look, you're doing what we want you to do with your children. We want you to sit down and have conversation with them. Conversation is probably one of the most important. There's my other brain. The other side of my brain is right in front of you. So we want parents to get that picture, that visual, and we model it to them.
Okay, we have a question from Barb Dixon again. She wants to know, do you
Mhm.
have any other books in the works?
Yes, the next book, as Laura is listening attentively, the next book is going to be the training book, because people liked the chapter on the activities and the choreography. So what we're going to do is take excerpts and we're going to put together a training book, but I want to include how to do some of the hands-on technology. So it'll be hands-on, like an activity, tactile or kinesthetic, but I also want to include under Apple Peel or insights about brain hats. I want to include what you can do on the computer. Like I could go on and I can draw pictures on Seesaw of hats and then write a story about hats. So I'm thinking all of those things through now at the moment, because I'm going to stick with that mantra of you got to train parents at the beginning of the year. So yes, there is going to be a new book come along. But the first rule of thumb I follow is Carmela Tierno, who was my mother. Carm Tierno's rule, since she was the best gourmet cook in the whole wide world, was, yes, you may have the recipe, but not until you come to my house to eat it. So I use the same thing with school districts. Yes, you can train your teachers after they come to my training and I train them. So the answer is yes. Somebody
Okay.
else.
We're going to give some books away now, Sue.
Oh, okay.
So here is, I'm typing into the comments, Sue's website, ondemeopress.com. Now, I'm going to ask some questions about Sue, and the first people who type their answer into the chat will win a book. We have 3 questions. We're giving away 3 books. So is everybody ready? So you don't have to unmute or anything. Just be ready at your keyboard to answer the questions. Okay. The first question is, in which country did Sue complete an independent study? Sue mentioned this, I mean, verbally. And
Now you sound like us during the day, right, guys?
yay, okay, we got that from Lourdes Martinez, Bolivia. Oh, James, sorry. Okay, maybe you'll get
Panama.
the next. Uh-huh.
Only lizards live in Panama.
Okay. All right, here's something that most of you may know the answer to the word. What does ondamio mean? But how does it relate to teaching, and why did Sue use it as the title of her book? Who knows the answer to that? If you can't type it really quick, go ahead and unmute yourself and blurt it out. I know it's on the website.
In the front of the book.
And most of you are Spanish speakers, so yes. Anyway, for those who have already won a book or will be winning a book, we will be in contact with you for your mailing address. Did you say something, Bob?
Just giving a clue. It starts with an S.
Ah, okay.
Goes to sleep at 7.
It means, yeah, somebody said it already. I think James said it.
What?
It means scaffold.
Yeah, how does that relate to the book? How does that relate to education, learning?
Well,
it means to lay a foundation and build upon. So we as learners can learn, just like students have to be scaffolded, and to get up to certain skills, they have to learn the basics, and then It gets harder and harder and harder progressively.
Sue, do you qualify that answer?
Absolutely.
Great.
Dare I say anything against the kid whisperer?
The what whisperer?
He's a kid whisperer.
Ooh, I like that.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. All right, we have another question. Okay, this one you may or may not know. She has not spoken it today, but it will be on her website, somewhere on one of them. But what is the name of the educational foundation that Dr. Tierno co-founded? You can find it. You can find it.
Anna, I wanted you to see Laura. She came on.
Oh.
Laura,
okay.
Laura is the saving grace to my brain.
Hold up the book. Let's get a really, look at that. You know, I love all of those Post-it notes. I mean, that is a working
Like, I don't
book.
know. That is a working book. Yes. Yes. I want to also tell Barb that we are working right now on, I have 20 little children's books in English and Spanish, but we're working on reproducing those books. And we're going to probably put them out in packets of 4 starting in, maybe the fall. So we're a little bit excited to have our children's books back in process.
That's wonderful. And in
Yeah.
Tennessee, you just have to get it into Dolly Parton's hands. and
Yes.
they'll go
Okay,
viral.
there's the answer. There's the answer.
Who has the answer?
Oh,
Maxine.
yay, Maxine.
Maxine, thank you. Where did you find that? Because I was just posting of where you could find it right here.
Andamio.
Yay. So absolutely. So this is where, tell us a little bit about Let's Think Kids Foundation.
Okay. I originally started in 1995. We hit our first federal grant. The Department of Education in DC thought this was such a unique proposal that we were funded for $3 million. So we really were lucky in the sense that I still had probably $500,000 worth of product sitting on a storyboard before I ever finished, Laura and I ever finished the production of all those backpacks. But the most important and critical thing is that we were in about 4 major national projects, and it became really a process of training the parents first, training the teachers. And what we did in our national projects was bring parents slowly into the classroom so that they could do the same strategies as teachers were doing. And that was very exciting for parents and very exciting for kids because they'd see their mom in the classroom and they thought they were special with that.
Yes.
So I think that that's the one missing piece that districts, haven't been able to allow parents to come into school to do that kind of thing now. And it's a little disappointing, but it's also very engaging, very engaging. Welcome, Esperanza.
Sue,
Go ahead. Yes.
I'm so sorry. We are at the end of our hour. So is there anything else you can leave us with? I mean, I just want to thank everybody for coming, but Sue, what can you leave us with?
I'll just tell you one thing that I'm a big believer in and one thing that I want to share. It's under the header of the impact of technology. And I think all of us who are in schools today would agree with it, but I just love it so much. It's not even my own words. Technology is a great tool, but it is only one modality. Proficiency requires our students to be masters of many modalities. including old-fashioned print and face-to-face exchange. Hence, we're
Wonderful.
moving into hybrid. Mhm.
Okay. All right. Several people have asked about, can they get a signed copy of your book?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
How do they do it?
You need to go on Andamio Press Inc. and you can order from there and it'll be a signed copy. You need to, it will ask you for all your information. Mhm, mhm. Or you
Okay.
can invite me over for a glass of wine and I will, I'll come sign your book.
That's
I'm
kind
kidding.
of funny. Or what other ways,
Oh,
where else can they get your book?
okay, the second way is go directly to Amazon. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. You can get it there. And I want to thank everybody who read the book, went through the book, and we now are at 30, what are they called? Reviews. I'm losing my brains because it's past 7 o'clock. Yes, there you go. It's the second edition is available on Amazon, yes. And soon it will be in your independent bookstore or university library. So we're kind of excited about that. And it's
That's great.
free on Kindle Unlimited. Thank you,
Yes.
Bob. Mhm.
Wonderful. And is there anything else that you want to share, just that we can end this on a really up, happy note? What are your hopes for the future?
Oh gosh, to sit on a front porch. No, I was gonna say to sit on a front porch and rock for a while.
Oh,
Okay, so as I said to you, you know, I'm a writer, and because I'm a writer, I make the voices in my head, you know, work for me, and that's the most exciting thing. I don't think I've ever loved anything more than to have learned how to write academically. And I don't think I've ever been more excited about how the book came about, because the book did not start just with me penning or typing something out. It was my dissertation distilled for even a 12th grader. And the reason why is because there's many parent liaisons that are in our schools that have had just a high school education. And I wanted the book to be accessible to everybody at any reading level. Right. Yeah. So if you're going to do something, for me, when I do a project, it's because I'm so in love with it. And this has the biggest depth of love and passion for me.
Susan, one more thing. Are you available to bring your parent learning engagement strategies to other schools for in-service training, for conferences, webinars, other things? What processes would someone need to do to contact you for that?
Are you ready to go, Anna?
Yes, I am.
First, I have to get Anna going. Then we're going to be putting a message on our voicemails. You can reach me by email. You can send a message to Carolyn. If you got a message, you could send a message to my brother, Bob. We are going to start quarterly webinars, and I'm kind of excited about that. I have applied for Title I National Conference this year. Well, it'll be in February of 2022. You know, I made this parent engagement thing part of my goals at school because it's so meaningful for me to stay attached to parents. As my coworkers say, your parents in your classroom are afraid of you, because I'm so direct with them about what to do. And it's really important that if you're servicing, or working with communities that are diverse, that are Hispanic, that are different, and they all come from somewhere else, we need to nurture and cultivate that. And then from nurturing and cultivating it, we want to develop that thinking that goes along with it. Oh, I can have homework helper over at my school. Send those 3 over to my school, my home, and I'll work with them. Or, oh, I know how to do that on the computer. Send them over to my home. And we need to be developing that with our parents so that they're enthusiastic mentors and mediators in their own neighborhood.
Thank you so much, Sue. It's time to actually color the night. It's been great. So Sue, why don't you share the send off?
Oh, I can't because you're putting the video on and I don't have the video.
Well, just say goodbye.
Oh, no. I love seeing everybody. I'm really deeply touched you took the time to come, to listen, to inquire, to find out, to learn about why somebody does something. You know, my mother used to say, she's sure that I have a screw loose somewhere. But, you know, to find out about what are other reasoning and ideas as to why people do things. I'm always interested in that. Carlos, hombre, so glad to see you. Carlos is the parent trainer in our border town here. And Carlos, I just have to brag on you a minute because he and I have done parent trainings for some of the parents on Zoom and or Meet on Google Classroom. And the good thing about it is that he gets them thinking about what did they see 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and what are they doing now with their time and attention, and how to balance that out. But I would say that he's probably the biggest advocate for, let's get this training done in the beginning of the year, of the school year. We are really wanting parents to be trained at the beginning of the school year so that they don't feel so bad during the year when they go away because they have to work and they need to be helping their kids. They'll be able to work with them. Anybody, how about any of you want to add 1 or 2 last things? Anna?
No,
Happy
I'm
to
enjoying.
see you, Lynn. You're enjoying. Lourdes, thank you for coming. Lee, happy to see you. I'm really happy you came, Laura. Oh my gosh, it just sounds so good.
Well, what a great evening. Thank you so much for joining in the publication celebration of Andamio. If you have any questions about the book, please reach out through my website at andamiopress.com. Have a great evening.